So let's talk about overthinking and how overthinking affects your ability to make decisions with ease. So what is happening when you're overthinking something? You're actually going over the same information over and over and over again, like a hamster that is actually running on a wheel without moving forward. In a way, that's my definition of overthinking. Going through this process of thinking without really being able to escape the place in which you're in from a thought point of view. And you actually being in this state of overthinking when trying to make a decision can create a lot of negative emotional feelings. You can feel irritated, frustrated, stressed, anxious, blue, overwhelmed, and all these feelings during the decision making process are not actually helping you to actually find the right decision for you with ease. They actually hinder that ability, them being a wall that you have to first either climb or remove in order for you to be able to make the right decision obvious to you. So what are the causes of overthinking in a decision making process? So if you were to look at the overthinking behavior, I believe that when you're in that state, you're actually focused on only one aspect of the decision and only on one or few information. And all you do is you're reshuffling that information without really being able to escape that process of reshuffling the information. Because even though, yes, you might put the information in the right place in the decision jigsaw puzzle, you cannot really find the right decision because you need to actually zoom out and look at the whole decision jigsaw puzzle. And I think that is the critical aspect for you to remember, that in a moment when you're starting overthinking an information, that in itself will not allow you to find the right decision, because in order to find the right decision, you have to actually step back and be able to look at the all information you have available and that is required for the decision and see how it connects together. Otherwise, there's no way. From an emotional point of view, what happens behind one overthinking during the decision-making process, it might be that they are actually starting worrying or feeling concerned about the information that they just discovered. So let's say the information you're focused on right now and you're overthinking it is the actual negative implications of the decision if you make the wrong decision. If you start feeling worried or concerned about those negative implications, it is easy for you to start overthinking that information and stay trapped in that wheel of thoughts, like the hamster stays trapped when they are running on the wheel without actually being able to move forward. The funny thing is that, in a way, the hamster is not able to recognize that they are not moving forward, although they are running very fast on that wheel. And similar can happen to you as well when you're overthinking an information, especially the negative implications a decision may have if you make the wrong decision. You have the feeling that you're really running, that you're getting somewhere, but in reality you're getting nowhere. Because at the end of it, you actually cannot see what is the right decision for you. And the only way you have to actually be able to really find the right decision is actually step away from that wheel, step away from the overthinking behavior, and look at what's out there from a detached place. Because if you think of it, those negative implications a decision may have is actually information that indeed you need to use as part of the decision-making process. Because if you don't know that, how can you assess if the decision you make is the right one or not? Because you have to see if the decision you make indeed leads or doesn't lead to the negative implications you're actually afraid of. Because it's obvious, if the decision leads to the negative implication, that decision indeed is not the right one. And I think that is what maybe people get afraid when they are thinking about the fact that they should stop overthinking the information, because there's this trap of thought. It's a conflict. Yes, I'll be happy not to think about this information, but I don't want to actually face the negative implications of this decision if I make the wrong one. And that is a critical aspect. What I'm actually saying, by you stopping overthinking an information, is not you actually ignoring that information. You do need to pay attention to it, but you have to pay attention to it just as a piece of information and not as the entire decision jigsaw puzzle. So now in practical terms, how can you actually stop overthinking a specific piece of information that is as part of the decision jigsaw puzzle? As I mentioned before, you have to zoom out. You have to stop that thinking process you're in at that moment in time and go back to actually asking yourself again, what is actually the decision you need to make? It might sound redundant because you with yourself might think, well, I already know what is the decision I need to make. But stepping back and asking yourself about the decision is actually you getting in touch with the actual decision you need to make. And that in itself is what will allow you to actually move away from that place in which you're trapped. It can also be about thinking about other elements of the decisions. For example, how other people might be affected. You might think about the benefits of you making the right decision. You might think about other information as well. But overall, it is about you stepping away from that particular information. And as I said, not permanently, because you do need to pay attention to those negative implications the decision may have if you make the wrong one. You just have to temporarily detach from it. So when you go back to, you can look at it from a different light. And that is actually also the principle I have behind the information gap diagnosis that I put together. If you want to engage with it, you can find the link of it in the description section below. The first question that I have as part of that diagnosis is, what is the actual decision you need to make? And more importantly, to think about the question in the most specific terms you can. Because let's say, for example, if you're a business owner and you're trying to set up a YouTube channel to promote your services, just deciding with yourself what this channel to be about is not enough, because the actual decision of what the channel should be about is too vague, is too abstract, is too broad. And you starting to actually think about the decision in a more specific terms will force you to really go back and articulate what is the actual decision you want to make. That it is really important for you to get back in touch with the decision that you need to make. And that is actually the equivalent of you no longer looking at a corner of a jigsaw puzzle, but actually looking at the whole jigsaw puzzle.